So with us now from London to discuss all of this is Doug Klain, a non-resident fellow with the Eurasia Centre at the Atlantic Council. Thanks so much for joining us here. So I just want to start with that developing story. We're following the bridge explosion. Still plenty we don't know about how it happened or who's behind it, but I'm curious to get your take on its significance and the reaction we're seeing.
Thanks for having me. So as you said, there is still a lot we don't know. We don't know exactly what caused this explosion yet. But it's already clear that in the story of this war, today is one of the great victories for Ukraine. This is a massive personal humiliation for Vladimir Putin. While Ukraine has not yet claimed responsibility for the strike, Ukrainian officials have spent days hinting at something big coming on the horizon. Ukraine's government accounts are already comparing this to the sinking of the Black Sea Fleet's flagship, the Moskva. And actually, the Ukrainian Postal Service has already announced a commemorative stamp for the occasion to celebrate. So I think that many people are going to be watching very closely to see what President Zelensky has to say today.
Yeah, absolutely. We've already seen lots of crowing on social media from Ukrainians, as you say. So let's turn to the growing fear of a nuclear confrontation, which has been in the news recently. Why do you think Putin has increasingly resorted to nuclear intimidation and blackmail?
So Putin's nuclear threats at this moment are really an act of desperation. Russia is losing this war, and Ukraine's forces are making significant gains. The war is not going in Putin's favor, so he's resorting to these nuclear threats. Just this week, U.S. President Joe Biden warned that the risk of Russia using nuclear weapons is very real, and we should take it seriously. But I think it's also important for us to recognize that nuclear threats are a tried and true tactic that Russia uses to scare the world away from helping Ukraine. So we can take these threats seriously without letting them set a new precedent that nuclear weapons allow a state to do whatever it wants. Ukrainian officials in Kyiv have actually said that a nuclear strike would change only the cost of this war, but not the outcome of an eventual Ukrainian victory.
Yeah, and this comes obviously, as you say, in the context of Russia's failures on the battlefield, as well as the growing protests against mobilization. You've written a piece about how the Russian mobilization is, in your words, doomed to fail. I'll quote you here, that sending untrained, under-equipped, and largely unwilling men to fight in Ukraine will be a slaughter with little precedent in modern war. Why is that?
Well, it's because there's a fundamental difference between Russia's and Ukraine's militaries. It's that Russia's army still looks much like the Soviet Union's military did. It's inflexible, it's bureaucratic. They have poor resources and little training, especially now for these fresh recruits. Ukraine's military, on the other hand, looks a lot like this as well up to 2014. But since 2014, Ukraine has spent a lot of time and resources transforming its military, making it look more professional, much more like a NATO-style military. With better resources, better professionalization, better training. And we're seeing the impact of that on the battlefield. When Ukraine's forces are given state-of-the-art weapons from the West, they're putting them to very good use. They know how to win.
Now, there have been growing calls for negotiation. Elon Musk's largely derided proposal got a lot of media attention, but he's far from the only one calling for some kind of land for peace deal. President Zelensky has said that's not a non-starter, and you agree. Why is that?
So I do think that Elon Musk is unlikely to be some grand peacemaker here. But as you said, his suggestion that Ukraine should trade some of its land to Russia for peace now, it's a really faulty idea that has gained some traction in the West. It's faulty for a variety of reasons, but most of all because Ukrainians would never accept it. We've all seen the horrors that happen under Russian occupation in places that have become infamous. Bucha, Irpin, now Izium, where there are mass graves and the victims of torture and sexual violence have come forward to share these horrors. So Ukraine knows that any territory it trades away to Russia, the people on that territory would be consigned to these horrors. So why would Ukraine trade these people away when Ukrainian forces are winning on the battlefield? Perhaps a better way to bring peace in Ukraine, in my opinion, is that Ukraine should be given the weapons to keep liberating its territory. That's what we've seen already works, and it seems like a better strategy than trading these people away.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Really appreciate your insights, Doug Klain with the Atlantic Council in London. Thanks so much.